screwed up once again. Well, not once again. You guys don't know that. So, this for you is part 2. But also for me, since I jacked it up. I'm lucky that the first part got recorded. I'll just have to cut off a little bit at the end where it says, now this is part 2. No, this is. So in the beginning, I talked about, in the first half, I talked about what some philosophers call qualia, and I think there's more than that to it, right? I think it's even beyond that. I don't even like the boxing in of the philosophical thing right there, but at least you can convey, so at least there can be a start when talking about things like that. And even perception across different cultures is different. And I'll make another part 2 for this also, just going off onto that, because I feel I need to address more on that, and especially when dealing with perception and sight and how completely radically different the same thing can be to two different people, and even that they won't even see it, which is a very interesting thing. Will not even see what somebody else sees. But going into language and as I said, many people have brought these things up, and I wanted to get back to them. So I'm going to do the broad addressing of it. But I believe my brother from another mother, who's up in Canada right now, and there's many people like this that I know on here who I'm like, man, they almost think exactly like I think, you know. And he brought up, and I might post this as a response to his video, just to whatever, so you can see his. He says he's of the opinion that, or of the view, or of the feeling that if we, and he does a pretty good, it's just very short run through of the English language. We came over here from, or not we, oh God. The English came over to got over to Britain by way of Frisia, but it was also, they were the Anglo-Saxons and the Jutes. They came from Germany, Denmark, and what's now Sweden. And they got Christianized, so there's Latin in there. There's probably some Celtic words that they absorbed. Then you have the Viking rule. So there's, thing, house, all. Those are Viking words. And then you had some Vikings at the time that were given land in southern France, and they worked their way up. And a century or so later, in 1066, they invade Britain, or what's now England, Angleland, the land of the Anglo-Saxon. And this guy, William the Bastard, conquers it. He gets a name change. He's William the Conqueror. And so you've got a French influence, you've got Latin, you've got Viking, you've got Gallic for a Anglo-Saxon, which is for English, which has an Anglo-Saxon underpinning. And then there's today, and you can even look at the way what I'll speak, or what I speak to other people, and there's a hell of a lot more Spanish in there than there would be for, you know, like maybe somebody not, you know, maybe somebody in England. And he says that the, you know, even though there is a lot of Greek root words in English, that if people knew the Greek, if they had a good understanding of Greek words, there would be a lot more clarity within the Christian dialogue, or that we could kind of get everybody speaking the same language so we can actually really discuss things without having to keep defining terms or something. I hope I'm presenting what you said right. Is this correct? If you're seeing so, I hope it is. Please put it like 433 or 443. No, you missed this one. But that would kind of cut down on some of the stuff, and we could really begin talking. And people could either accept or reject the ideas. I do not hold this view. That's his view. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I don't hold this view. Why? Because these words were not used until they had to use them, and even then it was a certain way of understanding. I know somebody very intelligent who says you got to read Timaeus and the Republic and Faustus and Phaedo in order to understand Christianity, because they're using, Paul is using explicitly Platonic, or Platonic, yeah, not from Plato, not Plotinus, right? Platonic, not Neo-Platonist, but Platonic words, right? Words from Plato, words from Aristotle, words from Epicurus. But Orthodoxy, ancient Catholicism, said, well, he's using those, but he's clearly not accepting the ideas. He's using those in a new way, in a different way. And you can see that in there, that he's talking to them in this way, but it's something new. For instance, okay, yeah, it's hypostasis, or I guess that's more proper terming of it. But talking about Christianity, in English we say hypostases, right? Hypostasy is the underpinning, right? The reality of the thing as it is, the thing. What is ousia? Ousia is the essence, the substance of something. They're basically the same damn thing. It's basically, when you're talking about the Trinity, you're speaking gobbledygook, which is exactly how they meant it. And they hated, they didn't, oh, ousia? No, thank you. We're not using that. I mean, I think it was many. I've read that it was Constantine. And this is from actual scholars, not Wikipedia. It was Constantine that blurted out the word, because they're, what can we use? And they're trying to dance around it. And Constantine goes, what? Ousia, Homoousios. Oh, shit. Yeah, we can't. Nobody liked that. None of the counter-Arians like that. They said, I believe the Sabellians had used it, and the Manichaeans had used it. So the Orthodox, or the Catholic position, we were, whoa, yeah, I don't know about that. And then the more they thought about it, and the more they saw the Arians get uncomfortable with them, yeah. Because this was to sever the Arian. Boom, you're out. It wasn't, hey, let's be a nice Christian family. It said, they're in the same language we are, in the exact same language we are using, they are understanding Christ to be separate. And every creed, I mean, they were there for a while, coming up with all this stuff and adding more stuff, and the Arians would, yeah, we could accept that. We need to get these people out. We need to sever these people. So they had to accept this term that was nobody would use before then, because it was seen as a heresy. I mean, it's actually blaspheming God using this using this word to describe God. They said we're not understanding it like they do. You know, it's not. We're not civilianists. We are not civilianists. And they put this in there. So three natures in one nature. I mean, either of those words, hypostasis or ousia, can be rendered nature, and have been in the past, not in the confines of the Nicene Creed, but elsewhere. So it's stupid. And I remember I had my parish priest laughing, because it's just lunacy, you know. Good. Again, the way nous is understood, the way logos is understood, the way I mean, even the Latin term persona does not communicate. It's not the same as the English word person, right? There's more of a concept behind it than just person. I actually think persona works better when talking about the Trinity. Persona and ousia, kind of a concoction of languages there. Consubstantial, I noticed that the Catholics, they said they're using consubstantial now in the formula of Nicene Creed, which I think is terrifying. Why are they doing that? They used substance before of one substance. Now they're using consubstantial, which I might mention in a video why that could be problematic. But you see, even if you know Greek, you're still not going to know what these words are. You have to understand them in relation to the church. How do you do that? Attend a church regularly, a parish, an Orthodox parish. Get baptized or get accepted, and however you do it. If you were formerly baptized as a Roman Catholic, they'll probably bring you in with chrismation. In different areas, all you have to do is, 200 years ago in Russia, all you had to do is say the Nicene Creed without the Filioque, and you were in, your chrism was even accepted. I think you had to say it like 3 times or something without the Filioque, and you announce it for your parish. But even when we define these terms, now we have much harder time, because people say, oh, see, in the Greek it's used this, and it's never used like how you're using it. We're not using it like they are. I mean, Paul quotes Epicurus and then refutes it. Very easily, if somebody was reading things like Timaeus and Plato's Republic and Plotinus and Porphyry, they read Paul's works in Greek, oops, they're now Gnostic. I mean, it's kind of that simple. But the church was familiar with these works and Greek speaking, and they, I mean, Irenaeus, he wrote originally in Greek. I think the only surviving copy we have is in Latin of adverse heresies, against heresies. But he was going after the Gnostics and the Demiurge and Abraxas and Logos and Sophia and the Aeons and the Archons. He was in Barbello. I mean, he was just on them. So I think defining terms could actually cause a problem. It's when we're speaking with inside Orthodoxy. Not to mention, we don't have a dialogue with them. We have no dialogue with them. Individually, we talk to other denominations, right? Or the sectarians, I should say. We're not a denomination. But the Orthodox has no dialogue with anybody outside the Orthodox Church. What the creeds and councils say are for us, for those within the church. And it takes, you have to be in relationship, talking to somebody, experiencing the liturgy, to then understand. It's a certain type of Gnosticism. Even when we use Gnosis, it's not the same Gnosis as the Gnostics. And the Gnostic Gnosis is much more similar to the Greek Gnosis. It's certainly right on top of Plato and Plotinus's Gnosis. Certainly closer. But I think that words do fail. I mean, we're dealing with something that's ineffable, or at least with our descriptions, quasi-ineffable to the other person. So I think terms will not do, especially Greek. I think that will actually make things worse. Because then people will start equating the nous with the soul, which we don't. Alright, take it easy. Peace to you, my God. Serve you, Syrian. I'm actually going to have to do another part to this, too.